Let's start with the makeup.
Okay, you touch and boink, and that's that. Just coming by, watching this, it's a fake thing. I'm not understanding any of what you just did. I don't know, pressure-wise, what kind of talk is there? Like to her face? No, I'm not European. Fake punch going by. A fraudulent DV claim to extort and blackmail a man.
Pretty angry.
Frustrated, confused, angry, upset. Yes.
After 8 rounds, this cross-exam is going to go to the scorecards. Overall, I'm going to score this fight 79-72. We'll go ahead and break that down. Round 1, I think it was probably a swing round, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Isaac because he had that real strong start where right off of the bat when Elaine is getting up, he's going to interrupt her, he's going to disrupt her rhythm, he's going to force her into that script, but he's not going to get damaged by the script. He's going to be able to stay comfortable with everything that she was bringing.
Now, you know that Ms. Heard was...
Excuse me. I didn't hear the beginning of what you started saying.
I said, let's start with the makeup.
Okay.
He remembered his details, and everything that he told was consistent with the story he was there to tell. Round 2, solid 10-9 round for Isaac. At this point, this is when he caught her with the hard counter. She's coming forward with that Amica cream, and boom, he just caught her.
Again, do you know whether she was wearing any Amica cream?
Sir, if you could just answer the
sorry.
question.
I'm totally sorry.
Thank
sorry.
you, sir.
That, no.
That did some damage. But at the same time, it was so good-natured and relaxed. There was no strain to it, no tightness. It just flowed out, that laugh. It was so absurd what she was doing with ridiculous script. It hurt her so badly that she just put that one away and never went back to it. Round 3, I'm also going to give to Isaac. He just continues to come off as this very decent, genuine guy. Commits to his story with the kissing demo, just no, I'm not European. I'm just, a guy kissed her on the cheek.
Did you have a different way of kissing her on the cheek different times? Or did you have a general way that you would greet or say goodbye to Amber with kisses?
It's a regular, you give a peck on the cheek, like you just touch cheeks and
okay.
That's that.
So it's a pretty soft, it's kind of like almost a superficial one, or is it a really hard one on the cheek?
No, it's, you kiss someone on the side of the cheek. I don't know, pressure-wise, what kind of talk is there?
I mean, is it just
talk,
one of these little pecks, or is it much harder?
No, it's a regular. You touch, you touch and boink, and that's that.
Stays with that slightly humorous, amused, happy kind of demeanor. Everybody likes a happy warrior, and Isaac really delivered that in round 3. Round 4, again, solid round for Isaac. Pow!
Whitney goes like this. Pow! Just a fake pow. And then they both start laughing, and then they're just standing there, doing what they're doing.
He's getting comfortable now with that punch demo, and he's relaxed, he's comfortable. The story is doing the work for him. Pow! Round 5. Round 5 starts to get a little bit closer, but I still really give it strongly to Isaac. This is the round with the phone argument. So Elaine is really trying to get something going here, but all she really lands with is, so Johnny was probably drunk. And since that was the only thing that was really effective, she does it a couple of times.
Mr. Depp was drunk. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But Isaac, in the meantime, he's just able to do some really hard damage back because he can explain, oh, the reason why Johnny thought there was somebody in the hotel room with Amber was because he heard a voice.
If Mr. Depp was suffering from delusions and there wasn't anybody in the room and he hadn't heard a voice but thinks he's hearing a voice, would it be reasonable for Amber to be trying to figure out what's going on?
And oh, when I say Amber was doing this baby, oh baby, what I mean was she was taunting him. Not that she's trying to placate him or make him feel better in any way. She's taunting him.
Come on, baby. Why are you being like this? What are you doing? Come on, Johnny. There's no need. Why are you being like this?
Right.
And it was taunting.
These are really important blows consistent with his story of Amber being the abuser of Johnny. Very, very solidly delivered from him. Round 6 is our 10-8 round. I mean, Elaine got put on the canvas in round 6. She walked right into his anger, and she was lucky to get back up from that.
Pretty angry with Ms. Heard, right?
When?
I wrote it down that you were...
About the phony pictures that were taken and put in tabloids, and about the fake narrative, and about and the way she's trying to got a fraudulent DV claim to extort and blackmail a man. Yeah, that kind of got me
Pretty angry
frustrated, confused, angry, upset. Yes.
The whole story that Isaac was here to tell was the story of Amber's fraudulent domestic violence claim. And he got to spell that out. And he got to show the jury why it mattered so much. This is why Johnny's story is important, because it affected so many people what she did.
So many people have been affected by this malicious lie that she started and she created, and it's gone out the door and around the world. And so I can't even paint anymore. I've stopped painting for the last who knows how many years, and that's affected by stuff. I'm not angry at anybody. I want the best for her to take her responsibility, heal, and move on. And for Johnny, his family has been completely wrecked by all of this stuff, and it's not fair. It's not right what she did and what happened for so many people to get affected from this. It's insane.
This one was just brutal and bloody. I loved it. It was a great round. Solid 10-8 for Isaac. Round 7, now Elaine is still trying to kind of make things happen with the puddle of wine and the... Is it 9:30 or 10 and the sconce, the glass on the sconces?
Sure, it was 9:30, give or take 5 minutes, or could it have been between 9:30 and 10?
It was 9:30, give or take 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, either way.
But since the jury hasn't been told the story, they just don't know what any of this means. And so none of this stuff is effective. It just doesn't land. Round 8, the final round, is the one round I will go ahead and score that one for Elaine. Like I said at the time, it wasn't pretty. It was not a showboat round for her by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, she had to work to get her points here. But she did finally manage to score with those bad texts from Johnny. That was the point of calling Isaac in the first place, was to counter the narratives, Isaac's story of Amber is the one who is abusive here. Amber is the one who has perpetrated this domestic violence hoax. That is her chance to turn it and bring out facts that she can use to explain to the jury that actually maybe Johnny was not really that good to Amber. Maybe Johnny said these things that are pretty horrible. If he said these kinds of things to you, maybe he said worse things to her. You know, you just wouldn't necessarily be in a position to know that.
You said that they were always nice to each other?
Yeah.
Do you ever remember Mr. Depp referring to Amber with the term cunt? Do you recall Mr. Depp telling you that this was Amber's fault and referring to her as a cunt?
This was bad enough that Isaac needed to look to the coroner for help, but he didn't get the help from the coroner that he needed. He was out there on his own to have to finish it off.
Hoped that Amber's rotting corpse is decomposing
Objection,
in
Your
the
Honor.
trunk of a Honda Civic.
I'll allow it.
So fortunately, he was able to shake it off and managed to get back and finish comfortably.
That's not what he says. He says that cunt ruined such a fucking cool life we had for a while.
He finished on top of this round with Elaine just ultimately, quitting with nothing else. The judge is, are you done? Finally, you've been telling me for 15 minutes here, you're done. Are you done, Elaine?
Are you done? So, are we done with Cross? Yes. Okay, and redirect?
Yes, she's done with the hearsay objection that's sustained. So it was not by any means a photo finish, but she did score enough with those last few texts that I'll go ahead and give her that round. So that's how I come up with a total score of 79 to 72. The thing that really stands out as the big shortcoming here is Elaine's lack of a story of her case. Now, I have said this multiple times throughout the course of this critique, and so I'm going to flesh out a little bit what I mean by that. And the reason why a story is so important as part of the trial process. What a story does is it provides a framework, a lens through which you will be able to see the evidence that comes in at trial and understand it. It gives you an explanation for why things are unfolding the way that they are. And so a good story isn't just a sequence of events that happens, that's like the AI version of a story would be this happened and then another thing happened and then after that there was this other thing. It's got to be tied together in a way that means something. And so just for example, my favorite book, The Grapes of Wrath, you can summarize what it's about. It's about how the American dream betrayed the hardworking families of the Dust Bowl. My favorite Johnny Depp movie, Edward Scissorhands, you can explain what that's about. It's about how people will reject and deprive themselves of beauty and transcendence out of fear of the strange. And so I didn't tell you in either of those descriptions any particular thing that happened in the plots of those stories. But if you go back now and watch them or read them, you're going to see how the sequence of events unfolds, and you're going to be able to understand that sequence in a way that if you're just expecting a thing to happen and then another thing to happen, you're not necessarily going to draw so much from it. So it's a synthesis of the facts and in a trial setting of the evidence. So the story then has to explain all of the facts. If it's going to be a good explanation, it has to account for things that aren't going to make your side look good, aren't going to necessarily make you likable or sympathetic. And so that is probably one of the reasons why the storytelling piece of Elaine's trial strategy is just so poor, because there's a lot of bad facts that have to be dealt with here. I mean, those audio recordings have to be dealt with. The $7 million that didn't get donated after going around all over the world saying repeatedly that it did, including under oath in the United Kingdom. All of these stories of horrible abuse and serious injuries, black eyes and broken noses and split lips, and then photographs that show nothing like that at all. If your story isn't going to be able to explain those in a way that is credible and believable, then it simply isn't a good explanation for your case. The jury is going to see that doesn't fit. Your explanation doesn't fit these other things that I'm seeing. Therefore, probably your explanation is bullshit. And if you're bullshitting me, you're probably the villain here. So opening statement should have been the point when the jury knew right out of the gate, this is what Amber Heard's case is about. This is what's going to explain everything that we're going to see come out in the next 6 weeks. And so you can go back and look at Elaine's opening statement and see how just nothing even close to that ever happened. She just provided this shotgunning of this thing happened, and then you're going to see this, and then you're going to see that, and then in Tokyo, and then back in Los Angeles, and then in Australia. And by the way, there's all these medications that Johnny was on, and then look at this makeup palette. Nothing cohesive that pulled it all together so that the jury would have some expectation, when these witnesses get on the stand, here's what it means. Here's why it matters. So the closest thing that she gave the jury to a story was just saying the evidence is overwhelming and compelling. And that's a terrible story. I mean, would you want to read a book about the evidence being overwhelming and compelling? No, that's not a good story. Not only does it sound kind of boring, there's no action to it, there's no conflict, there's no drama. It's just a description of something. And it's not even a very good one in the context of this case because it's not accurate. It's not going to prepare the jury for the fact that they're going to hear a lot of things that are, I mean, if anybody's got it overwhelming and compelling, it might very well be Johnny here. And so it doesn't take the bad facts that she's got to deal with and find a way to incorporate them so that when the jury sees them, they aren't left going, oh, well, this isn't an overwhelming and compelling case at all. They understand it in the framework that you have been able to sell to them. When Isaac is on the stand, the jury doesn't know why he matters. They don't know why any of this matters for Elaine's case. She hasn't explained to them the significance of what they're going to hear and why. Now, Amber has been pitching her own story, her alternative story on Dateline, this interview that kind of got trickled out over the course of the last week. And so her story is, well, Johnny Depp is a character. Johnny Depp is somebody that the world and everybody around him sees through their rose-tinted glasses because they have fallen in love with Edward Scissorhands and Captain Jack Sparrow. And so they're not going to be inclined to see, you know, his feet of clay, the bad things about him, the dark side of Johnny. And they're going to be inclined to push that away and minimize it and deny it. And that's why nobody, you know, intervened and helped Amber out in this situation. It's a better story than anything Elaine brought to the trial. I mean, I'll give it that. And it actually has, I think, the potential to be a pretty powerful story. A story about your idols and celebrity and fame and what all of that means. But again, the problem is Amber can't acknowledge those bad facts that she has to be able to explain. And since she can't internalize her own misbehavior, she can't account for it. She can't take the opportunity to explain, this is why I was in such a bad state. I realize, I empathize with you. I understand why you're horrified hearing these things. Here's why I need forgiveness for that. But here's how it fits into my story as a whole. Since Amber doesn't have the ability to acknowledge any kind of wrongdoing, it just means that all she has is deny and minimize and dismiss. And so that's just not going to work. The jury doesn't have any reason to dismiss them or pretend that they're not hearing what they aren't hearing with their own ears. Technically speaking, Elaine going into this cross-examination without a story, without an explanation, a purpose for all of this, is like going into a boxing ring without knowing how to punch. Okay? You can throw your arms around and see what happens, but chances are, you might land something, but it's not going to be hard. It's just going to be luck. And you're going to be so open by doing that somebody who knows what they're doing is just going to be able to tee off on you. The goal in a boxing ring is to spot the openings that your opponent gives you and figure out how I can capitalize on these without giving them openings back to be able to hurt me. And so you see, okay, my opponent is coming at me with this. If he comes at this, I can counter with this. And then, here's what he would do, so I can do that. And that's the chess of it. That's the sweet science. Cross-examination is exactly the same. You already know what your opponent's openings are because you've done discovery. We don't do trial by ambush in the US. There aren't surprises that should come out on the stand. If you've done your preparation, you know what their evidence is, you know what their testimony is going to be. And you should probably also have a pretty good idea of how they're going to deliver that. And so from that, here are the facts that this person brings. Here are the weapons that they are going to use in the course of this trial. So you should already know, how do I explain these as part of my story? You've already identified if there are bad facts that I've learned through discovery, I can get those in through this witness, and that's how I'm going to be able to land, and I'm going to be able to turn what could be an adversarial witness, the other side's witness. If I can get bad facts from them, I can turn them to being part of my story. Your goal in cross-exam is really just to get in those facts that you've identified as advantageous to your case. And that's it. That's the entire goal. This series here is honestly the reason why I created this YouTube channel. I just knew as soon as I saw this witness and this cross-exam that this was the type of thing that I knew I would enjoy watching on YouTube. Just a breakdown of what exactly, how was this so good for him? And how was this so bad for Elaine? Somebody who's supposed to be a seasoned professional, top of her profession in this area, but boy, it was just a train wreck. So I'm really gratified and grateful to all of you that have enjoyed this as much as I have. It's just been a lot of fun to see how many people have enjoyed this type of analysis and criticism of what we saw in this trial. So thank you all for enjoying this with me. If you are interested in more of these types of breakdowns, please subscribe. I am planning to take a similar close look at some of the other witnesses in this case, some of the other attorneys that we saw. One of the great things about this trial is that over the 6-week period, we got to see such a diversity of personalities and strategies and approaches to the trial process. So there's just a lot to be able to look at and maybe understand a little bit better how I see these things unfolding, how I understand the effect that the decisions that are made have on the jury and ultimately on the outcome, what is working and what isn't. So I hope you'll join me for those. Thank you, and I will see you in the next series.